Welcome everyone to the Bhagavad-Gita class. Today we're reading from chapter 2, contents of the Gita summarized, text 53. But as you know, in the past couple of classes I've been investigating and talking about some of the characters in the war, some of the soldiers. I've been studying the first chapter of the Gita, but kind of focused on the first chapter. So I wanted to share some things with you before we go on to text 53. One, I wanted to, and I'd like some participation, and I know a lot of devotees, know some of the intricacies of the Mahabharata war. So I wanted to first ask if everyone knows the one character that I looked up. I've been trying to find out the status of each of the participants in the war, the warriors who were in the war. And we did Shalya and we did Yuyudan, who was also, he had two names. Oh, Satyaki. That was his name. He had two names. His name was Yuyudan and Satyaki. He had two names. So the one person I want to talk about before we start on the text is, his name is Virat, and he's a Maharati. So I'd like some participation. So can someone, and please raise your hands, tell me who was Virat? Nobody? Okay, then I'll share with you if you don't know the Virat. You remember that the Pandavas were exiled for, 13 years? I don't want to get it mixed up with Ram, because I know he was also exiled for a certain amount of time, but I can't remember the years. And so the last year they had to be incognito. So Virat was the king whom they took shelter of. I forget the name of his kingdom, but his name was Virat, and his wife's name was Queen Sudeshna. So, as you may remember, Yudhisthira played the role of Kank, who was a dice player, and he played with the king in the kingdom. Arjuna took the role of Brihadanela. She was, that was a long story, how he became Brihadanela. He became a eunuch, but it served him, and it was supposed to be for a year. So he was the music and dance teacher. He learned the dance from what's his name? The person who was the expert in the heavenly planets. And then there was Bhima, who became a cook in the king's kitchen. And then there was Nakula and Sahadev. One, I can't remember which one. One of them was the keeper of the horses, but I forget what was the last one, okay? And also he was the father of Prince Uttara, and his daughter's name was also Uttara. And Arjuna as Brihadanela was teaching her dance. And after they came out of incognito, the last day, King Virat, when he came into the courtroom and he saw that those who he thought were his servants were all dressed. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot Draupadi. She was, what was her name? She was the queen's hairdresser. There's a name that they have for a person who does that kind of service. But on the last day, when they came out of incognito, they all put on their armor, their warrior outfit, and they were sitting in the court. So when King Bharat came and saw that they were sitting there, he was like really disturbed, asking, why are you sitting, in my place, with the royal robes on? You're not supposed to be there. But then Arjuna just said, this is Yudhisthira. He's has every right to sit there. So then he said, well, if he's the King Yudhisthira, then where's the rest of them? So then Arjuna introduced Draupadi, who had been the hairdresser. He introduced all the 5 Pandavas. And then the king was feeling so remorseful that he had mistreated them and had even thrown dice at Yudhisthira, that he offered his daughter Uttara to Arjuna. But Arjuna said, no, I can't accept her because I've been with her as my daughter. I've been teaching her dance and music. So I can't take her as a wife, but my son, Abhimanyu, we can offer her to my son. So Bharat was a Maharathi, which means that they mastered all forms of weapons and combat skills. And they were masters of all the vyuhas, or battle formations, and they were excellent strategists. But we know that the supreme strategist in the whole war was Krishna. He was the one that was moving everything the way he wanted it to be, the end. And then I was going to share one more thing that I've been researching and looking at. The vyuhas are the military formations. So, I'll just give you the names of some of the formations, and then I'll give you the name of the formation that Abhimanyu got stuck in and couldn't get out of. I think you're all aware that that's how he got killed, because he had heard the beginning of the instructions of how to get into the Chakra Vyuha, but he did not know how to get out of it, because in the time that Subhadra was being instructed and they were telling about the Chakra Vyuha, she had fallen asleep. So Abhimanyu didn't get the end of it. He didn't get how to get out. He was in the womb and he was hearing, but he only knew how to get in, but he didn't know how to get out. Okay? And then I'll read some of the formations. I found them very fascinating, actually. And I had made some copies of, I only have 10. So whoever wants a copy of, it's a really intriguing and very interesting description of this vyuha, the Chakra Vyuha, and how it's formulated and how complicated and intricate it is, and how they figured out, how to maintain the warrior who came. In fact, it was hard to get in, as well as it was difficult to get out. So some of the formations, one was called the Krancha Vyuha, and that's the heron formation. And then there was the Makara, that's the crocodile formation. Then it was Kurma, the tortoise or turtle formation. Then it was Trishula, the trident formation. Of course, we're talking about the chakra, the wheel or discus formation. The Kamala or Padma, the lotus formation. The Garuda, the eagle formation. The Ormi, which is the ocean formation. The Mandala, which is the galaxy formation. The Vajra, which is the diamond or thunderbolt formation. And then the Shakata, which is the box or cart formation. Then the Asura, which is the demon formation, and the Deva, which was the divine formation. I found it interesting as I was reading that when Duryodhana and his group did the Asura formation, then Krishna and Arjuna did the Deva formation, the divine formation, to battle against the Asura formation. And then there was the Suchi formation, which was a needle. And then the Shringataka, which is a horn formation. And then the Chandra Kala, which is a crescent or curved blade, and then the Mala, which is the garland formation. So I'll probably share more information on that as I read it. But I'd like to ask, has anyone thought about what are some of the strategies that Krishna used during this war to bring it to the conclusion that he wanted to? There were so many, but I'll give you an example of what I mean. Like, he put Karna to the side because nothing moves without the will of the Lord. So even though Karna was saying, I'm not going to fight because Bhishma, I'm not fighting until he's out of the way. I'm going to abstain. I'm going to stay, because he was thinking he had a personality challenge. But actually, that was Krishna's arrangement and one of Krishna's strategic moves to take Karna out of the battle until the death of Bhishma. And then another one was he gave his Vishnu Seni to the Kauravas, and he himself was standing by the side of the Pandavas, and we know how that happened. Duryodhana and Arjuna went to see Krishna, and Arjuna being more humble was at Krishna's feet, but Duryodhana being more puffed up was at Krishna's head. So it worked out that, and Duryodhana thought, oh good, I get his army, I'm going to win, this is it, I'm going to do it, But of course, if you don't have Krishna, and also that's how, because Kritavarma and Satyaki were very close with Krishna, but because Kritavarma was the head of the Vishnu Sena, he went on the other side and fought with the Kauravas. So can anyone tell me any other things that Krishna did? What else did he do with Karna? Yes, he got the 5 arrows. And there was another one, if you know the story, that, Karna was very well known for being very generous. He'd give anything, especially after he finished worshiping the sun god. So what happened was that Indra came in the form of a Brahmin and asked Karna for his covers, his earrings, as well as his shield that he was born with. And because Karna was, charitable and at that time gave whatever someone wanted, he cut it off and gave it, even though he knew why it was being done, but he gave it anyway, So, and then Karna had a weapon that he was saving to kill Arjuna. But Krishna arranged it so that he had to use the weapon on Ghatakach, who was Bhima's son. Can anyone think of anything else, if you know the Mahabharata? Any other strategy of Krishna? He was supremely working as a strategist in the whole war. Okay, when after Abhimanyu was killed, Arjuna swore that he was going to kill Jayadratha, and if not, then he was going to set fire to himself. And Krishna was like, why'd you make that kind of promise? That means I have to, arrange it, And actually, that formation that they use of Abhimanyu, they used to hide Jayadratha. It's a very, very, very intricate formation to get, So, but of course, Krishna arranged that, he was able to kill Jayadratha. Actually, what he did was he hid the sun. He just kind of looked at the sun, and the sun went down, and then everybody was relaxed. Oh, okay, Arjuna has to emulate himself. Yay! And then the sun came back up, and Krishna said, "Get him, get him now!" And he shot the arrow, and the arrow cut off Jayadra's head, and the head went to the lap of his father, who was, and the father also got immolated, because there was a whole long story about how that was supposed to happen and why it happened. So I just wanted to share that with you, okay, before we go into. So the copies are here. It's very interesting. Anybody want to read it? Okay. So we'll go on to the text. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from chapter 2, text 53. Chapter 2, contents of the Gita, summarized, text 53. Shruti vipratipanate yadastasya nischala samadavachala buddhis Tara yogam avapshasi Shruti vipratipanate yadastasya nischala samadavachala buddhis Tara yogam avapshasi Shruti vipratipanate yadastasya nischala samadavachala buddhis Tara yogam avapshasi. Devotees. Vapshasi yadastasya nischala Shruti vipratipanate yadastasya nischala samadavachala buddhis Tara yogam avapshasi Shruti vipratipanate yadastasya nischala samadavachala buddhis Tara yogam avapshasi. Vaishnavis. Shruti vipratipanate yadastasya nischala samadavachala buddhis Tara yogam avapshasi. Shruti vipratipanate samadavachala buddhis Tara yogam avapshasi. Word for word. Shruti, a Vedic revelation. Vipatipana, without being influenced by the fruitive results. Te, your. Yada, when. Sashati, remains. Nischala, unmoved. Samadao, in transcendental consciousness or Krishna consciousness. Achala, unflinching. buddhi, intelligence, tada, at that time. Yogam, self-realization. Vapshasi, you will achieve. Translation and purpose by His Very Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. When your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, and when it remains fixed in the trance of self-realization, then you will have attained the divine consciousness. Please repeat. When your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, and when it remains fixed in the trance of self-realization, then you will have attained the divine consciousness. Purport. To say that one is in samadhi is to say that one has fully realized Krishna consciousness. That is, one in full samadhi has realized Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. The highest perfection of self-realization is to understand that one is eternally the servitor of Krishna, that one's only business is to discharge one's duties in Krishna consciousness. As a Krishna-conscious person or unflinching devotee of the Lord should not be disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, nor be engaged in fruitive activities for promotion to the heavenly kingdom. In Krishna consciousness, one comes directly into communion with Krishna, and thus all directions from Krishna may be understood in that transcendental state. One is sure to achieve results by such activities and attain conclusive knowledge. One has only to carry out the orders of Krishna or his representative, the spiritual master. So, first, Srila Prabhupada is talking about a person who is in samadhi. And samadhi is being fully realized with a fixed mind, and it's also explained being in a trance. And I'll read from 623. There's two types of samadhi. I'll read the translation and maybe some of the purport. In this stage of perfection, called trance or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. And as I was reading that, I was just thinking about the pure devotees who always are in a happy state of mind. They're always laughing. You know, you can think of, like my Shiksha Guru, Dear Krishna Goswami, he's always happy. Yesterday, I think, he had surgery. And I saw he's well. He came out of this surgery successful, and he was on, where else, Facebook, but he was talking about how everything went well. He had 2 surgeries, actually, in that week. One on his eye, and he also had a hernia. But then he was talking about how he's not going to be able to laugh because he has to maintain the surgical, So I've seen that so many of them are very happy because they're all in a transcendental state. They're pure devotees. They're not on the material platform. Established thus, one never departs from the truth. And upon gaining this, he thinks there's no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. And actually, I was also thinking about, at least for me, I don't know about anybody else, but when I'm challenged or when I have difficult situations, I find it very hard to remain equal posed. Somehow the mind keeps shifting back and forth. And actually the only relief that you can get is to just pick up your beads and start chanting, to engage the mind without meditating on what's happening and why it's happening to me and how can I solve it and so many things. What's the solution? What do I do? So the only solution I find is just chant. Tell my mind, just chant. Don't keep thinking about it. Just pick up the beads and chant. That's the solution. It's the only solution that's there, And then I wanted to also throw out the question of, I know I'm not fully realized, and I wanted to ask what prevents us? What are the interferences that prevent us from being fully realized? We have examples around us, the pure devotees, and we also have the examples from the scriptures. So does anybody want to, give some feedback about what it is that makes us, not completely Krishna conscious yet? We're on our way, but we're struggling. At least I'm struggling. Yes? Can somebody give her a mic, please? Because this fan is making a lot of noise. So you can give her the mic. Is it working? Is it there? I mean, this is like for us to share, what we're experiencing as we're trying to be fully Krishna conscious.
What I'm thinking is that we're so much accustomed to being self-absorbed and absorbed in this, what's going on for me, how do I fix it, what do I do now? And it's very hard to tune our attention to being fully absorbed in Krishna.
Yes. So it means that we, so my Guru Maharaj used to say, think of yourself less, but not think less of yourself, but think of yourself less. So, we should engage in helping others. Anyone else want to contribute?
I was thinking, I was just listening to a class, and it was talking a lot about the Adosha, so when we come to Krishna consciousness, we go through stages.
Yes.
So one of the stages is Anatha-Nibriti, for example, which for most of the devotees takes a long time. So usually we get stuck, but we're not really stuck, we're actually making progress, but because we keep making mistakes, we keep getting purified until we get Nishtha, and from Nishtha there is more steady progress. So I think that probably could be something.
Yeah, because I know Prabhupada said we could be Krishna conscious in a minute, right? If we didn't have all that going on in the mind. And there was one thing that I was listening to a class by Chaitanya Charan. I think everybody probably is familiar with him. And this one sentence stuck in my mind. I keep trying to keep it in my consciousness and remembering it every day in what I'm doing. It's saying that persistent absorption comes by consistent rejection of distraction. Persistent absorption comes by consistent rejection of distraction. And was yesterday Kaddish? I can't remember the days. They're going back. Yesterday? Day before. And I was meditating on this as I was doing the Vrindavan Parikram. And as I was walking along the way, there were so many distractions along the way. You have to make, what I do is make a vrata the night before, that I'm going to do the parikram, I'm going to pray to Srimati Radharani for her blessings, that I be able to do without being distracted, because along the way there's stores and there's monkeys and there's dogs and there's vendors, and sometimes you look and you see something, I could get that for my deity, but then you just refocus the mind and you say, no, the goal is keep Srimati Radharani's lotus feet in your mind, which propels you forward to complete your parikram. For me, that's a big thing, because I tend to get easily distracted, especially if I see something I can purchase for the deities or like that. But it was actually very blissful. So, and then, also in order to remain in samadhi too, it takes practice. Wherever the mind wanders, we have to bring it back. I think that's in the Gita too, right? You have to bring your mind back, persistent. You have to be persistent about it. So then also, let me get back to my text. And so the Vedas are like an instruction manual. I know for myself, if someone gives me some equipment or gives me something like a piece of machinery or a blender or a food processor, I always want to get the directions. Whatever someone's given or whatever I buy, I want to have the directions. I want to know how to work it out. So the manual helps you, use the appliance. So the Vedas also help us navigate the material world, but depending on what your desire is, you can get lost in the Vedas, the rituals, and especially if there's another verse I wanted to read about. Let me see if I wrote it down. Oh, I forgot to do the 2 types of samadhi. All right, 623. 623. Okay. In the yoga system as described in this chapter, there are 2 kinds of samadhi, called sampragyata samadhi and asampragyata samadhi. When one becomes situated in the transcendental position, by various philosophical researchers, he is said to have achieved sampragyata samadhi. In the asampragyata samadhi, there is no longer any connection with mundane pleasure, for one is then transcendental to all sorts of happiness derived from the senses. As long as the material body exists, one has to meet the demands of the body, namely eating, sleeping, defending, and mating. But a person who is in pure bhakti-yoga or in Krishna consciousness does not arouse the senses while meeting demands of the body. Rather, he accepts the bare necessities of life, making the best use of a bad bargain, and enjoys transcendental happiness in Krishna consciousness. He is callous toward incidental occurrences such as accidents, disease, scarcity, and even the death of a most dear relative. But he is always alert to execute his duties in Krishna consciousness or bhakti yoga. Accidents never deviate him from his duty. As stated in the Bhagavad-Gita 2:14, agamapyano nityas tam statiksasva bharata. He endures all such incidental occurrences because he knows that they come and go and do not affect his duties. In this way, he achieves the highest perfection in yoga practice. So those persons who get caught up in the Vedas and wanting to do the sacrifice. Actually, in Kali Yuga, no one can actually do any of those practices perfectly. On the Vedas, Bhagavad-Gita. And so the meaning of Veda actually is it's the aggregate of all knowledge, the total and final knowledge that anyone needs to know. So what happens is they get distracted by, worldly pleasures. They want to taste the somaras. They want to go to the heavenly planets. They want to have a beautiful wife. They want to have, nice car, nice family, nice job. They want their son to be married to a nice wife. They want, so many things. So they, get lost in the Vedas just because of their material desires. But, and that's the slow process. Better to follow the Vedas than not follow the Vedas. Not to just be whimsical and do whatever you want. No, we don't. That's not. Following the Vedas is a process. It's just it takes a long time. To understand that the actual purpose of the Vedas ultimately is to surrender to Krishna, to serve Krishna. And so we have to practice to stay connected. And we shouldn't be allured or distracted by the promise of worldly pleasures. And we know that the world has so many promises. I can just envision New York now. When you're walking down New York, it's like so many all around you. There's so much going on. You just see they have huge videos showing, get this, get that. You can get this, you can attain this. There's so much sensory actions in New York City. Just walking down the street, I think, actually, the material world is dangerous, but New York is super. That's why people love it. They love it. Everybody's so hedonistic and they love it. But it's very disturbing, actually, if you're a devotee and you're walking down the street and you're constantly bombarded by all these images. And a lot of the images are like something you don't want to see. Half-clothed people or, all kinds of activities going on. So we always have to, in there, take shelter of the holy name. So we're in Vrindavan to minimize, the external attractions. And for me, being in Vrindavan means going deeper in my spiritual practice. My Guru Maharaj always used to tell us, you have to go deeper. You have to go deeper. You have to really check your progress. Where are you in your spiritual life? And being comfortable is not a good thing. You can't be comfortable. You shouldn't be comfortable. There's no way to be comfortable, because once you're comfortable, it's like one of the reasons I'm really reading this, the war, is because we're on a battlefield and we always have to think about strategies to keep us on this path, how to practice. And recently I went through a period where, I knew that my rounds were so slack. I was like, what is going on? That my rounds are not, where they should be. So I just made a determination, no, this is not good. I have to get up earlier to chant my rounds, because in the morning, it's the best time. It's when you can keep more of a focus instead of, chanting 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. For me, at least, it doesn't work. The morning time is the best time to get the rounds done and to get quality and to determine. It takes determination, discipline, patience, and seclusion to just really try to hear the holy names. and to keep bringing our mind back. So where I was in a comfortable position, but I was thinking, oh, comfortable isn't good. You're just kind of like floating. Okay, I'm chanting, doing some service, but there's no real digging to find out what is actually going on inside. What's happening? What are the anarthas that have to come out in order to really, get attached to the holy name and try to reach Krishna, actually. So the end of everything, the end of the Gita, the end of the Vedas, the end of all is that Krishna is the Supreme Person of Godhead. And we should surrender to Him. We should want very desperately to go back to Him. Actually, He wants us more than we want Him. Which is, which is just His mercy, that He's wanting all of us back home to be with Him. So I think I'm going to end the class here and leave 5 minutes for additions, corrections, subtractions, criticisms, anything anyone would like to add. I'll be happy to hear. Yes.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to ask, you were talking about the digging process. We have to dig deeper. Maybe you could suggest something that someone might use as a digging tool.
Well, I only think that we have to know ourselves, and we have to be honest in terms of where we are. If we don't know ourselves and what our weaknesses are, Maya certainly knows. If you don't know, she knows. And she'll like test you on it. She'll sit. So we have to self-examine. We have to know ourselves. What's my weakness? And pretty soon it will be revealed. Because being in Vrindavan certainly has revealed my weaknesses. It was there, but being here, it's 1,000 times magnified. You're like, oh wow, I thought I was finished with that. But nope. She's like, oh, I gotcha. So we have to be honest with ourselves and see if we want to grow, we want to go home. We want to be with Krishna. We don't want to just loiter around in this bathroom of the material world. So that's my only suggestion. Maybe others have, more other suggestions, but I feel like honesty and to know yourself and where you're weak. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you so much for being in the Bhagavad-Gita class. My obeisances to all of you. Hare Krishna.